My husband had a YouTube channel with 2 million subscribers. For 3 years, he filmed every panic attack I had, every nightmare that woke me screaming, every moment my trauma made me fall apart. He called it comedy. His fans called it entertainment. And the video he was about to upload next was titled, "The Finale, What Happens to Her on Our Anniversary." I was never supposed to find it, but I did. And what I discovered in that video made me realize I never knew the man I married at all. My name is Sylvie Brennan. I'm 34 years old, and until 6 months ago, I thought I had a good marriage. I thought I had a husband who loved me despite my flaws. I thought I had found someone who understood my struggles and accepted me anyway. I was wrong about all of it. I have PTSD. It started when I was 9 years old. There was a fire in my family's house in the middle of the night. I made it out through my bedroom window. My little brother Jamie did not. He was 7. I still hear his voice sometimes when I close my eyes. I still wake up smelling smoke that isn't there. I still panic when I hear loud noises or see flames, or feel trapped in small spaces. Trauma like that doesn't go away. You just learn to live with it. My husband Derek knew all of this. He knew about the fire. He knew about Jamie. He knew about my panic attacks and my nightmares and my therapy appointments every Thursday afternoon. He held me when I cried. He told me I was brave. He made me believe he was the safest person in my world. But the whole time, he was filming me. He was posting my worst moments online for strangers to laugh at. And he was planning something for our anniversary that would have destroyed me completely. If you want to hear how I found out the truth and what I did about it, stay with me. Because this story changed everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and the person sleeping next to me every night. Before we continue, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and leave a comment telling me where you're watching from. I love hearing from you, and it means so much that you're here. Now let me take you back to the beginning. I met Derek at a friend's birthday party 7 years ago. He was charming and funny, and had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. He asked me questions about my life and actually listened to the answers. By the end of the night, I gave him my number. By the end of the month, we were dating. By the end of the year, I was in love. I told him about the fire early on. I had to. We were watching a movie at his apartment, and there was a scene with a building burning down. I started shaking and couldn't breathe. Derek paused the movie immediately. He held my hands and talked me through it. He didn't make me feel embarrassed or weak. He just sat with me until I was okay again. That night, I told him everything about the fire, about Jamie, about the years of therapy and the panic attacks that still caught me off guard. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, "Thank you for trusting me with that. I'm not going anywhere." I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He was kind and patient and never made me feel like a burden. When we moved in together, he made sure we didn't have any candles in the house. He learned what my triggers were and helped me avoid them. He came to therapy with me once so he could better understand what I was going through. He seemed like the perfect partner for someone like me. We got married 5 years ago in a small ceremony with close friends and family. I wore my mother's dress. Derek cried when he saw me walk down the aisle. It felt like the beginning of a beautiful life together. The first few years were good. We bought a house in a quiet neighborhood in suburban Ohio. I worked as an art teacher at an elementary school. Derek worked as an IT consultant for a company downtown. We had dinner together most nights. We watched movies on the couch with our feet tangled together. We talked about having kids someday when we were ready. But my PTSD didn't disappear just because I was happy. I still had bad days. I still had panic attacks that came out of nowhere. I still woke up in the middle of the night, convinced I could smell smoke, convinced the walls were closing in, convinced I was back in that house watching flames crawl across the ceiling. Derek was always there when it happened. He would hold me and rock me gently and tell me I was safe. He would get me water and sit with me until my breathing slowed down. He would say all the right things. I felt so lucky to have him. I told my therapist, Dr. Okonkwo, that I had finally found someone who made me feel like I wasn't broken. She said she was happy for me. She said having a supportive partner could make a real difference in recovery. What neither of us knew was that Derek wasn't supporting my recovery. He was sabotaging it. Every time I thought I was getting better, something would happen to set me back. A smoke alarm would go off for no reason. I would find burnt toast in the kitchen that I didn't remember making. I would wake up suddenly to loud noises that Derek said he didn't hear. I started to think I was losing my mind. I started to think my PTSD was getting worse instead of better. Derek encouraged these thoughts. He would look at me with concerned eyes and say, maybe I needed to increase my medication. He would suggest that maybe therapy wasn't working anymore. He would hold me tight and tell me he loved me no matter how broken I was. I felt grateful for his patience. I felt guilty for putting him through so much. I had no idea he was the one causing it all. My best friend Nola always said something felt off about Derek. She never liked him much, though she tried to hide it for my sake. Nola and I have been friends since college. She's a nurse practitioner now, tough and practical and fiercely protective of the people she loves. She would watch Derek with suspicious eyes whenever we all hung out together. When I asked her what was wrong, she would just shake her head and say she didn't trust people who seemed too perfect. I laughed it off. I told her she was being paranoid. I told her Derek was one of the good ones. Nola never pushed it. She just stayed close and kept watching. And one night, while scrolling through random YouTube videos during a slow shift at the hospital, she found something that changed everything. She found a channel called Living with Crazy. She clicked on a video with a thumbnail of a woman in the middle of a panic attack. The woman looked familiar. Nola leaned closer to her screen and felt her stomach drop. The woman in the video was me. Nola called me the next morning. Her voice was shaking in a way I had never heard before. She told me I needed to come to her apartment right now. She wouldn't say why. She just kept repeating that it was urgent and that I shouldn't tell Derek where I was going. I was confused and scared, but I trusted Nola more than anyone. I told Derek I was running errands and drove to her place with my heart pounding the whole way. When I walked through her door, Nola was sitting at her kitchen table with her laptop open. Her face was pale. She looked like she hadn't slept all night. She told me to sit down. Then she turned the laptop toward me and pressed play on a video. I saw myself on the screen. I was in my living room, curled up on the floor, hyperventilating. I remembered that day. It was about 2 years ago. The smoke alarm had gone off while Derek was at work, and I had a full panic attack. I thought I was alone. But there on the screen, I could hear someone breathing behind the camera. I could hear a man trying not to laugh. The video was titled, "Wife Freaks Out Over Nothing," and it had over 3 million views. Nola showed me the channel. It was called Living with Crazy, and it had 2 million subscribers. There were hundreds of videos going back 3 years. Every single one featured me having panic attacks, me waking up screaming from nightmares, me crying on the bathroom floor, me shaking and gasping and falling apart in every possible way. Derek had filmed all of it with hidden cameras I never knew existed. I couldn't breathe. I scrolled through the video titles and each one felt like a knife in my chest. Watch her lose it again. Triggered by toast. Crazy wife versus smoke alarm. She actually believes this. The thumbnails showed my face twisted in fear and pain. The view counts were in the millions. Strangers had been watching my worst moments for entertainment. I clicked on the comments and immediately wished I hadn't. People were laughing at me. They called me pathetic and insane and a drama queen. They made jokes about mental illness. They said Derek was a saint for putting up with someone so broken. Some of them said worse things that I can't repeat. 2 million people had subscribed to watch a man humiliate his wife, and I never knew any of it was happening. Nola held my hand while I cried. Then she showed me something even worse. She had gone through the older videos carefully and noticed a pattern. Every panic attack I had seemed to happen right after something specific. A smoke alarm going off, the smell of something burning, a sudden loud noise in the middle of the night. Derek was always nearby when these things happened. He was always the one who comforted me afterward. That's when I understood. Derek wasn't just filming my panic attacks. He was causing them. He was deliberately triggering my PTSD so he would have content to upload. Every episode I thought was random was actually planned. Every nightmare that felt like my brain betraying me was actually my husband betraying me. He was manufacturing my suffering for views. I thought back to all the times I felt like I was getting worse, all the times Derek suggested I needed more medication, all the times he looked at me with sad eyes and told me he was worried about my mental health. He made me believe I was broken beyond repair, while he was the one breaking me on purpose. He gaslit me for 3 years. He made me doubt my own reality while he profited from my pain. Nola did some research on the channel's revenue. Based on the subscriber count and average views, she estimated Derek was making thousands of dollars every month, maybe more. Our entire marriage, every kind word and gentle touch, was funded by my trauma. I paid for his love with my sanity, and he deposited the checks. I sat in Nola's apartment for hours. I watched video after video of myself at my lowest points. I read comment after comment from people who thought my suffering was hilarious. I saw my husband's username replying to fans, joking about me, calling me his crazy wife, like it was an affectionate nickname. By the time the sun went down, I knew my marriage was over, but I also knew I couldn't just walk away. I needed to be smart about this. I needed a plan. And I needed to find out what else Derek was hiding from me. My first instinct was to drive home and scream at Derek until my throat was raw. I wanted to throw his laptop through the window. I wanted to break every hidden camera in that house with my bare hands. But Nola stopped me. She grabbed my shoulders and looked me in the eye and said we needed to think this through. She said Derek had money and 2 million followers who believed he was funny and charming. If I confronted him without a plan, he would spin it. He would post a video of me screaming and call it another meltdown. He would make me look crazy and himself look like the victim. I had to be smarter than him. That night, I stayed at Nola's apartment. I didn't sleep. I just sat on her couch with my phone, downloading every video from his channel before he could delete them. I took screenshots of comments and view counts and timestamps. I saved everything to a folder on my laptop and backed it up to the cloud. If Derek tried to destroy the evidence, I would still have copies. He wasn't going to erase what he did to me. The next day, I went back home and acted like nothing was wrong. It was the hardest thing I have ever done. Derek was sitting on the couch, watching TV when I walked in. He smiled at me and asked how my errands went. I smiled back and said fine. I sat down next to him and let him put his arm around me. I felt sick to my stomach, but I kept my face calm. I couldn't let him know that I knew. Over the next few days, I searched the house carefully while Derek was at work. I found 3 hidden cameras. One was in the bedroom, tucked behind a stack of books on the dresser. One was in the living room, disguised as a phone charger plugged into the wall. One was in the kitchen, hidden inside a fake plant on top of the refrigerator. I didn't remove them. I needed Derek to think everything was normal, but I started being very careful about what I did and said in front of those cameras. I wanted him to believe he still had control. I made an emergency appointment with my therapist, Dr. Okonkwo. I told her everything. I showed her the channel on my phone and watched her face change from confusion to horror. She told me that what Derek had done was psychological abuse. Deliberately triggering someone's PTSD and filming them without consent was not a prank. It was cruelty. She said I needed to protect myself legally and emotionally. She gave me the name of a lawyer who specialized in cases involving domestic abuse and privacy violations. The lawyer's name was Miriam Chen. I met with her 2 days later. I brought my laptop with all the downloaded videos and screenshots. She reviewed everything carefully and told me I had a strong case. In Ohio, it is illegal to record someone in a private space without their knowledge or consent. What Derek did could be prosecuted as a criminal offense. She also said I could sue him for intentional infliction of emotional distress. The fact that he deliberately triggered my panic attacks made the case even stronger. She told me to keep gathering evidence and not to confront Derek until we were ready. I spent the next week preparing. I quietly moved important documents out of the house. My passport, my birth certificate, the title to my car. I opened a bank account in just my name and started moving small amounts of money into it. I packed a bag with clothes and toiletries and left it at Nola's apartment. I was building an escape route one piece at a time. Finally, I was ready. It was a Friday night. Derek was relaxed after a long week, drinking a beer and watching sports on the couch. I turned off the TV and sat down across from him. I told him we needed to talk about something important. He looked curious, but not worried. He had no idea what was coming. I took a deep breath and said the words I had been practicing in my head for days. I said, "I found your YouTube channel, Derek. I know about living with crazy. I know about all of it." I watched his face and saw the exact moment he realized his secret was out. For the first time in our marriage, my husband had nothing clever to say. Derek's face went through several emotions in just a few seconds. First there was shock, then fear, then something that looked almost like relief. He sat there in silence for a long moment. Then he started talking. He said it was just jokes. He said he never meant to hurt me. He said the fans loved me and thought I was hilarious. He said he was going to tell me eventually and that we could have shared the money together. He made it sound like I was overreacting. He made it sound like this was something we could laugh about over dinner. I didn't react. I didn't cry or scream or have a panic attack. I just sat there looking at him with a calm expression on my face. I could tell it was making him nervous. He was used to me falling apart. He was used to being the one who held me together. But I wasn't falling apart this time. I was completely in control, and that scared him more than anything. Derek's tone changed. He stopped apologizing and started getting defensive. He said I was being dramatic. He said plenty of couples make prank videos together. He said I should be grateful that he put up with me for so long. Then he got a strange look in his eyes, a look I had never seen before. He said, "Okay, you found the channel, but you haven't seen everything. You don't know the whole story." He pulled out his phone and opened his YouTube Studio app. He scrolled through his videos until he found one that wasn't published yet. It was scheduled to go live in 3 days. The title made my blood run cold. It said, "The Finale, What Happens to Her on Our Anniversary." Derek pressed play and handed me the phone. The video started with him sitting in his car, talking directly to the camera. He was smiling, like he was about to share the most exciting news in the world. He said he had been planning something special for 3 years. He said this was going to be his biggest video ever. He said it would probably break 10 million views. Then he explained his plan. On our 5th wedding anniversary, while I was sleeping, he was going to stage a fake house fire. He had bought smoke machines and speakers to play the sound of crackling flames. He was going to fill the bedroom with smoke and blast fire sounds at full volume in the middle of the night. He was going to recreate the night that killed my brother. He said he couldn't wait to see my face. He said it would be the most epic content he had ever made. I watched the video and felt something break inside me. Not in a bad way, in a freeing way. For 3 years, I thought I was broken. For 3 years, I thought my trauma was winning. But it wasn't me. It was never me. It was him. Everything I went through, every setback in my recovery, every moment I thought I was losing my mind, it was all because of him. And now he was planning to use the worst night of my life, the night my baby brother died in flames, as entertainment for strangers on the internet. I looked up from the phone and stared at Derek. He was watching me with an expectant expression, like he thought I would beg him not to do it, like he thought he had power over me. I felt a calm settle over me that I had never experienced before. I said, "You're done, Derek. I've already sent everything to my lawyer. The police will have a copy by morning, and your 2 million subscribers are about to find out exactly who you really are." Derek's face went white. He started stammering and reaching for me. He said we could work this out. He said he would delete everything. He said he was sorry, and he loved me, and we could go to counseling. But I was already standing up. I was already walking toward the door. I had my keys and my purse, and that was all I needed. Everything else was already at Nola's apartment. Derek followed me outside, still begging. Neighbors were looking through their windows. He grabbed my arm and I pulled away hard. I told him not to touch me. I told him the next time he saw me would be in court. Then I got in my car and drove away. I watched him shrink in my rearview mirror, standing in the driveway with his arms hanging at his sides, looking like a man who just realized he had lost everything. The next day, my lawyer released a statement to the press. Within hours, news outlets were picking up the story. The channel got reported thousands of times, and YouTube took it down. Derek's name started trending online, but not in a good way. People who used to laugh at his videos were now calling him an abuser. Other women came forward saying Derek had done similar things to ex-girlfriends before he met me. His mother, Patricia, called me crying, asking how I could ruin her son's life. I hung up without saying a word. I was done explaining myself to people who chose not to see the truth. The legal process took 8 months. 8 months of depositions and court dates, and reliving the worst moments of my life in front of strangers. But I had Nola by my side through all of it. I had Dr. Okonkwo helping me process the trauma, and I had Miriam Chen fighting for me every step of the way. Derek tried to make himself look like the victim. He hired an expensive lawyer who argued that the videos were just harmless pranks and that I had consented by being in a relationship with him. But the evidence was overwhelming. The hidden cameras, the deliberate triggers, the 3 years of documented abuse. The jury saw through his lies. Derek was charged with multiple counts of illegal recording and intentional infliction of emotional distress. He could have gone to prison, but his lawyer negotiated a plea deal. He pleaded guilty and received 3 years of probation, mandatory psychological counseling, and a permanent restraining order that keeps him at least 500 feet away from me at all times. He also had to pay a significant financial settlement that covered my legal fees and gave me enough money to start over somewhere new. It wasn't prison, but it was justice. And watching him stand in that courtroom and admit what he did out loud was worth more than any sentence. The divorce was finalized 2 months after the criminal case ended. I didn't ask for anything except my freedom. I didn't want the house or the furniture or any of the things we bought together. I just wanted to be free of him completely. The judge granted the divorce without any complications. When I walked out of that courthouse with the papers in my hand, I felt lighter than I had in years. I was no longer Sylvie Brennan. I went back to my maiden name. I was Sylvie Marsh again, the woman I was before I ever met Derek. I moved to a new city where nobody knew my story. I found a small apartment with big windows that let in lots of natural light. I got a job teaching art at a community center for kids. I started painting again, something I had given up years ago because Derek always said it was a waste of time. I filled my apartment with canvases covered in bright colors and abstract shapes. For the first time in my adult life, I was living for myself and nobody else. 6 months after the trial, I received a message from a woman I had never met. Her name was Jenna, and she lived in Texas. She told me her husband had done something similar to her. He had filmed her anxiety attacks and posted them on social media for his friends to laugh at. She never told anyone because she was ashamed. But when she saw my story on the news, something changed inside her. She realized she wasn't alone. She left her husband and filed for divorce. She said my courage gave her permission to save herself. Over the next year, I heard from dozens of women with similar stories. Women whose partners had humiliated them online. Women whose trauma had been turned into content. Women who thought they were alone until they saw someone else stand up and fight back. I started a small online support group where we could share our experiences and help each other heal. What started as a few strangers messaging me turned into a community of survivors lifting each other up. I still go to therapy every week. The PTSD hasn't disappeared. I still have bad days. I still wake up sometimes with my heart racing and the smell of smoke in my nose. But the episodes are less frequent now. And when they happen, I know they are coming from inside me, not from someone deliberately trying to break me. There is a huge difference between struggling with trauma and being tortured by someone who claims to love you. I understand that difference now. Last spring, I visited my brother Jamie's grave for the first time in almost 10 years. I brought flowers and sat on the grass beside his headstone. I told him about everything that happened. I told him about Derek and the videos and the trial. I told him I was sorry I stayed away for so long. I told him I was finally learning how to live without being afraid. The wind blew through the trees while I talked, and I like to think that was Jamie telling me he was proud of me. I adopted a rescue dog named Benny a few months ago. He's a scruffy little mutt with one ear that stands up and one that flops down. He sleeps at the foot of my bed every night and somehow keeps the nightmares away better than any medication ever did. When I come home from work, he acts like I've been gone for years. That kind of unconditional love is something I never knew I needed until I had it. I don't know what the future holds. I'm not dating anyone right now. I'm not sure I'm ready for that yet, but I'm okay with being alone. I spent so many years believing I needed someone to take care of me. I thought my broken pieces made me unlovable. Derek used that belief against me. He made me think I was lucky to have him, but the truth is, he was the one who was lucky. He had a wife who trusted him completely, and he used that trust to hurt her in the worst possible way. I'm not broken anymore. I never was. I was just married to someone who wanted me to believe I was. The moment I stopped believing his version of who I am, everything changed. I found my voice. I found my strength. I found a life that belongs to me and nobody else. If you're watching this and someone in your life is making you feel crazy, making you doubt yourself, making you think you're too damaged to deserve better, I want you to know the truth. You're not crazy. You're not broken. You're not too much. The problem isn't you. It might be the person standing next to you, pretending to hold you up while they're actually pushing you down. My husband filmed my trauma for 3 years and called it entertainment. He planned to recreate the worst night of my life for clicks and views. He thought he knew everything about me. He thought he had complete control. But he was wrong, because the woman he tried to break is the same woman who stood up in court and watched him lose everything. The woman he called crazy is the same woman who built a new life from the ashes of the old one. I'm not his crazy wife anymore. I'm not a prank. I'm not content for strangers to laugh at. I'm a survivor. And my story doesn't end with his finale. It starts with mine. If this story moved you, please subscribe to this channel and leave a comment telling me where you're watching from. Your support means everything, and I love knowing these stories are reaching people all over the world. Until next time, take care of yourself. You deserve a life where you're loved for real, not used for content. Go build that life. It's waiting for you.